Hey, buddy! We're going to jump right into an Archives of Tomorrow battle report where the Exiles are facing off against the Prometheans. This video is meant to show you how smooth AOT's action-reaction system plays in a beginner-sized battle, using just the core rules. This video is not sped up in any way, so you can see by the length of it just how easy it is to fit a battle into your busy lives. Here's how we prepared for this battle. We agreed on a requisition cost limit of 800 for both forces. We agreed on deployment zones 24 inches apart. We placed 2 archives on the battlefield. We placed terrain on the battlefield and agreed on the terrain rules applicable to each piece. And we agreed to play up to 7 victory points. Now we'll jump into the battle footage where both commanders roll off to choose a deployment zone and deploy the first unit. The Exiles win the roll and choose the left deployment zone. They will now also deploy the first unit in their deployment zone. Both commanders will then alternate deploying 1 unit at a time until all units are deployed. The Exiles choose first to deploy 5 Daredevils all in cover terrain. The Prometheans then deploy 5 PR-1s just outside of cover terrain. The Exiles then deploy their leader, a Kingpin, in cover terrain. The Prometheans then deploy their leader, a Transcendent, who is accompanied by 5 Cyborgs, all in cover terrain. The Exiles then choose to deploy 3 Condemned right up the middle of the battlefield, poised on the front lines to charge forward. The Prometheans then deploy 3 Dreamers right on the front lines. The Exiles then deploy 5 Boomers. With deployment completed, both commanders now roll off for the first round activation order. The Prometheans win the roll and will be activating the first unit in the action phase of round 1. In the action phase, both commanders will alternate activating 1 unit at a time until there are no longer any units eligible to activate. The Prometheans are going first, and they choose to activate the Transcendent plus the accompanying Cyborgs to perform an advance action. They roll a 5, so they can move up to 11 inches. That's 6 inches for the speed spec on the spec card, plus 5 inches rolled on the D6. Advance actions like this do not trigger an enemy reaction. Now the Exiles choose to activate the Condemned to perform an advance action. They roll a 3 so they can move up to 8 inches total. 5 inches for their speed spec, plus 3 inches rolled on the D6. And again, these advance actions do not trigger an enemy reaction. The Prometheans respond by activating the Dreamers to perform an advance action. They are coming up the south side of the battlefield, and they roll a 3 so they can move up to 10 inches total. 7 inches for their speed spec, plus 3 inches for the D6 roll. And they just barely make it onto the archive. Again, no reaction is triggered here. The Exiles then activate the Boomers to perform an advance action. They roll a 3, so they can move up to 9 inches total, 6 inches for their speed spec, plus 3 inches rolled on the D6, and no reaction is triggered. Prometheans then choose to activate the PR-1s to perform a move and shoot action. They move into cover terrain, with 2 even making it up onto the vantage point terrain on the second story of the building. They target the condemned in the middle of the battlefield, who choose to perform an evade reaction into the nearest cover terrain. This evade reaction actually moves them closer to the PR-1s firing at them. But I think the Exiles are planning to get those condemned into close combat as quick as possible, so this could be beneficial for them. It looks like all 5 PR-1s are now in range to shoot, with 1 attack each, which means a total of 5 attacks from the unit. Their attacks are power 6, and the condemned are defense 7. Since the power is lower than the defense, the attack rolls need 5+ to be successful. However, 2 PR-1s are in vantage point terrain, so their attacks get +1 to the attack roll result as they fire down from above. That means these 2 attacks will need 4+ to be successful. Rolling the 2 attacks from the PR-1s in vantage point terrain first, needing a 4+. Ooh, it looks like both miss. Then rolling the remaining 3 attacks needing 5+, only 1 is successful. The condemned normally have a 4+ resist, which goes to a 3+ resist in the cover terrain. The resist roll is passed, so no damage is suffered from these attacks. The Exiles then activate the Kingpin to perform a move and charge action. He moves forward and declares the Dreamers as the primary charge target. The Dreamers choose not to react because they want to stay in scoring position on that archive, and declaring a countercharge could potentially pull them off of it. The Kingpin rolls 2d6 and gets 11 for his charge vigor, making the charge successful. Wow, what a roll! He then makes the successful charger rolls, doing impact damage on the charge, using a number of d6s equal to the power of his battle weapon, which is 7. Any results of 5+ here will inflict severe damage to the charge target, to a maximum of 3. Oh, and he rolls 2 5-ups, and therefore inflicts 2 severe damage to the Dreamers. The Dreamers do have the Resilient 6+ ability, and so they can attempt to ignore this damage. Rolling 2 dice, the Dreamers ignore 1 point of damage with that 6, and then suffer 1 damage. They have 3 health each, so this leaves the Dreamer with 2 health remaining after the charge. The Exiles, having more units here on the table, get to activate their last unit, the Daredevils, and they perform an advance action. They roll a 2, so they can move up to 10 inches. 8 inches for their speed spec, plus 2 inches for the roll result. Not quite enough to make it onto the archive. No reaction is triggered here. That concludes the action phase of round 1, taking us now into the battle phase of round 1. In the battle phase, all units in battle range will resolve their attacks and inflict damage simultaneously. Now in round 1, it looks like we just have the Kingpin and the Dreamers in battle range. Resolving this battle activation, we'll roll for the Kingpin's attacks first. He has 2 attacks at power 7 swinging into the Dreamers with a defense of 6. That means he needs 3+ for the attack rolls to be successful, and both are successful. The Dreamers have a 4-up resist, they save 1 and fail 1. The Kingpin's attacks do 3 damage, but the Dreamers do have the Resilient 6-up ability. Rolling 3 dice, the Dreamers ignore 1 damage and suffer 2. Now rolling for the Dreamers' attacks, they have 4 attacks each, but only 2 are in range to participate in the battle activation. which means they make 8 total attacks at power 6. The Kingpin has defense 7, so they need 5+ for the attack rolls to be successful, and only 1 attack is successful. The Kingpin has a 3-up resist and fails it. The attack does 2 damage, but the Kingpin has the resilient 5-up ability. Rolling 2 dice, the Kingpin ignores 1 damage and suffers 1 damage. These simultaneous battle activations result in the already wounded Dreamer with 2 health being destroyed, and the Kingpin dropping to 5 health remaining. This is the only battle activation for this round, but the Dreamers have the Terror ability, which triggers at the end of the battle phase. The Kingpin, however, is a leader rank, and is therefore immune to Terror. This concludes the battle phase of round 1, moving us now into the control phase of round 1. In the control phase, the Exiles will score 1 victory point for being on the archive, and the Prometheans will score 1 victory point for being on the archive. We've gone through the ABCs of round 1, so now we will start round 2. Both commanders roll off again for the second round activation order. Oh, and they both roll a 4, so a reroll is necessary. The Exiles win the second roll and will be activating the first unit in the action phase of round 2. The Exiles choose to activate the Condemned to perform a move and charge action. They move forward and declare the Transcendent and the Cyborgs as the primary charge target. The Prometheans choose to perform the countercharge reaction, so both commanders will now roll 2d6 to determine their charge vigor. The Prometheans roll 7 and the Condemned roll 10, but get +2 for the total of 12 with their momentum ability. This means the Condemned win the charge and move their 12 inches into battle range of the Prometheans. Then, any Prometheans not already in battle range can move up to 7 inches to meet them. The Condemned then get to make their successful charger rolls using a number of d6s equal to the power of their battle weapons, which is 7. Any results of 5+ will inflict severe damage to the charge targets, to a maximum of 3. They roll 3 5-ups, and therefore inflict 3 severe damage to the Prometheans. No resilient ability here on the Cyborgs, so they're just going to take that damage. Since the Cyborgs are accompanying the Transcendent, damage to the combined unit is allocated to them first. The Cyborgs have 2 health each, so after suffering 3 damage, one Cyborg is destroyed and another is left with 1 health remaining after the charge. By performing a reaction here, the Transcendent and Cyborgs unit is no longer eligible to perform an action in this round. The Prometheans then choose to activate the PR-1s to perform a move and shoot action. 2 more PR-1s move up onto vantage point terrain, while 1 still remains on the ground in cover terrain. They target the Condemned again, who cannot react this time because they are locked in battle with the Transcendent and the Cyborgs. However, this does mean that the Prometheans are risking friendly fire for any attack rolls of 1 here. All 5 PR-1s are in range to shoot, with 1 attack each, which means 5 total attacks. 4 PR-1s are in vantage point terrain, so their attacks get +1 to the attack roll result. That means these 4 attacks will need 4+ to be successful. Rolling the 4 attacks from the PR-1s in vantage point terrain first, needing 4 up, 3 attacks are successful, and the 4th attack roll was a 1, so it will be friendly fire. Then rolling the remaining 1 attack, needing 5 up, it misses, and it's another friendly fire. Oh no! The Condemned are no longer in cover terrain, so they are on their normal 4-up resist. All 3 resist rolls are passed, so no damage is suffered on the Condemned. Then the Cyborgs with a 5-up resist must roll for the 2 friendly fire attacks, and they both fail! Each attack does 2 damage for a total of 4 damage. However, 1 Cyborg is already wounded with 1 health remaining, So the first attack will destroy that wounded cyborg, with the extra point of damage not overflowing. Then the second attack will destroy a second cyborg. The exiles then choose to activate the daredevils to perform a move and charge action. They move onto the archive and declare the PR-1s as their primary charge target. The PR-1s choose to perform a counter-charge reaction here. Both commanders are rolling 2d6 here. The PR-1s roll 9 and the daredevils roll 3. They do get +2 for a total of 5 with their momentum ability, but the PR-1s win the charge and move their 9 inches towards the daredevils. However, not all of them are going to make it into battle range because they have to move vertically down 4 inches from the second level of the building before moving forwards the remaining 5 inches. This is just enough to get one of the PR-1s onto the archive. The daredevils then move up to 5 inches to meet them. The PR-1s now get to make their successful charger rolls, using a number of d6 equal to the power of their battle weapons, which is 5. They roll 1 5-up and therefore inflict 1 severe damage to the daredevils. The daredevils have 2 health, so this brings one down to 1 health remaining after the charge. The Prometheans now activate the Dreamers to perform a scrum action. This allows the Dreamer not currently in battle range to move up to 3 inches into battle range so it can fight in this next battle phase. Scrum actions do not trigger an enemy reaction. The Exiles then activate the Boomers to perform a move and shoot action. They move around the obstacle terrain to gain line of sight and target the PR-1s who cannot react because they are now locked in battle with the Daredevils. This means that the Exiles are risking friendly fire for any attack rolls of 1. All 5 Boomers are in range to shoot, with 2 attacks each, which means a total of 10 attacks from the unit. Their attacks are power 6, and the PR-1s are defense 6. Since the power is equal to the defense, the attack rolls need 4 up to be successful. Rolling the 10 attacks, 2 were successful, but 3 will be friendly fire. The PR-1s have a 5-up resist and successfully resist both attacks, so no damage is suffered. Then the Daredevils with a 5-up resist must roll for the 3 friendly fire attacks. They save 1, but fail 2. Each attack does 1 damage for a total of 2 damage. This destroys the already wounded Daredevil with 1 health remaining and brings another Daredevil down to 1 health remaining. The Exiles then choose to activate the Kingpin to perform a hold action. Hold actions do not trigger an enemy reaction. There are no longer any units eligible to activate, so that is the end of action phase in round 2. This brings us into the battle phase of round 2. The players are going to resolve the Kingpin versus the Dreamers battle activation first here. There's 2 Dreamers who have 4 attacks each, for a total of 8 attacks at power 6. The Kingpin has defense 7, so they need 5 up for the attack rolls to be successful. 4 attacks are successful this time. The Kingpin has a 3-up resist. He saves 3 and fails 1. The attack does 2 damage, but the Kingpin has a resilient 5-up ability. Rolling 2 dice, the Kingpin fails both and suffers 2 damage. Rolling for the Kingpin now, he has 2 attacks at power 7, swinging into the Dreamers with defense 6. He needs 3 up for the attack rolls to be successful, and both are successful. The Dreamers have a 4-up resist, they save 1 and fail 1. The Kingpin's attack does 3 damage, but the Dreamers have the resilient 6-up ability. Rolling 3 dice, the Dreamers ignore 1 damage and suffer 2. These simultaneous battle activations result in the Kingpin dropping to 3 health remaining and a Dreamer dropping to 1 health remaining. Now resolving the Condemned versus the Cyborgs and Transcendent battle activations. There's 2 Cyborgs with 1 attack each, for 2 total attacks at power 5. The Condemned have a defense of 7, so they need 5 up for the attack rolls to be successful. 1 attack is successful, and the Condemned have a 4-up resist. successfully resisting the attack. The Transcendent has 2 attacks at power of 7. Swinging into the Condemned with defense of 7, it needs a 4-up for the attack rolls to be successful. And oh no, it fails both. Rolling for the Condemned now, the 3 Condemned have 5 attacks each for a total of 15 attacks at power 7. Let's first go into the Cyborgs accompanying the Transcendent, and there are only 2 Cyborgs left with a combined health of 4. Therefore, the Condemned will slow roll their attack rolls, 4 at a time, because once the Cyborgs are destroyed, the remaining attacks will have to go into the Transcendent. The Cyborgs have a defense of 5, so the Condemned need 3 up for their attacks to be successful. Rolling the first 4 attack rolls, 2 are successful. The Cyborgs have a 5-up resist, and wow, they save both! Rolling 4 more attacks, all 4 are successful. The Cyborgs save 3 and fail 1, suffering 1 damage. Rolling 4 more attacks, 3 are successful. The Cyborgs fail all 3 resist rolls and suffer 3 damage. That's the end of the Cyborgs. Now rolling the remaining 3 attacks, going into the Transcendent this time, who has a defense of 6, the Condemned need 3 up for their attacks to be successful. 2 attacks are successful, and the Transcendent has a 3-up resist. It saves 1 and fails 1, suffering 1 damage. These simultaneous battle activations result in the 2 Cyborgs being destroyed and the Transcendent dropping to 5 health remaining, while the Condemned get away without suffering any damage at all. Now moving over to resolve the battle between the PR1s and the Daredevils. Rolling for the PR1s first, 4 are in range to fight with 2 attacks each, for 8 total attacks at power 5. The Daredevils have a defense of 5, so they need 4 up for the attack rolls to be successful. 4 attacks are successful, and the Daredevils have a 5-up resist. They save 1, fail 3, and suffer 3 total damage. The 4 Daredevils have 3 attacks each, for 12 total, at a power of 6. The PR1s have a defense of 6, so they need 4 up for the attacks to be successful. Wow, 10 attacks are successful. The PR1s now have a 5-up resist. They save 4 and fail 6, suffering 6 total damage. These simultaneous battle activations result in 2 Daredevils being destroyed and 3 PR1s being destroyed. What a brutal round of battle! These are all the battle activations for this round, but the Dreamers have the Terror ability, which triggers at the end of the battle phase. As was the case for round 1, the Kingpin, being a leader, is immune to this Terror ability. That concludes the battle phase of round 2, so we now move into the control phase of round 2. The Transcendent has the Regenerate ability, so it heals D3 health in the control phase. It's going to regenerate 1 health, bringing it back to its full health of 6. In this round, the Exiles will score 2 victory points as they are on both archives, and the Prometheans will score 2 victory points as they are also on both archives. This brings the total score to 3-3. We're still tied after the second round. Going into the start of round 3, both commanders roll off for the 3rd round activation order. The Prometheans win and will be activating the first unit in the action phase. The Prometheans will activate the Dreamers to perform a hold action. No reaction is triggered here. The Exiles will then activate the Boomers to perform a charge action. They move onto the archive and declare the PR1s as their primary charge target, who cannot react because they are still locked in battle with the Daredevils. The Boomers roll 2d6 and get 11 for their charge vigor, making the charge successful. They then make the successful charger rolls using a number of d6s equal to the power of their battle weapon, which is 5. Any results of 5 up inflict severe damage to the charge target to a maximum of 3. They roll 1 5 up and inflict 1 severe damage to the PR1s. The PR1s have 2 health, so this brings one down to 1 health remaining. The Prometheans are then going to choose to activate the PR1s, who are going to perform a hold action as they're locked in combat with 2 units now. No reaction is triggered. The Exiles will then activate the Kingpin to perform a firing retreat action. The Dreamers choose to perform a cut down reaction in response. Before the Kingpin gets to run away, the Dreamers will perform 4 attacks each. In a cut down reaction, attack rolls always need 4 up to be successful, regardless of the power and defense of the units involved. 3 attacks will be successful here. The Kingpin has a 3 up resist. He saves 2 and fails 1, and the attack does 2 damage. But the Kingpin has a resilient 5 up ability. Rolling 2 dice, the Kingpin saves 1 and fails 1, and bringing him down to 2 health remaining as he runs away from the Dreamers. The Kingpin makes it out of battle and moves to the edge of the archive. He then turns around and shoots back at the Dreamers he just retreated from. The Kingpin has 4 attacks at power of 5 with his ranged weapon. The Dreamers have a defense of 6, so he needs 5 up for the attacks to be successful. Oh, and it looks like none of the attacks were successful. The Prometheans then activate the Transcendent to perform a hold action. No reaction is triggered here. Then the Exiles activate the Condemned to perform a scrum action. Again, no reaction is triggered here. The Exiles then activate the Daredevils to perform another hold action, and no reaction is triggered here. With no units left eligible to activate, we now move into the battle phase of round 3. Resolving the Condemned versus the Transcendent battle activation first, and rolling for the Condemned, they have 3 attacks each for 15 total attacks at power 7. The Transcendent, now fighting on its own, has a defense of 6, so the Condemned need 3 up for their attacks to be successful. 9 attacks are successful. The Transcendent has a 3 up resist. It saves 6 and fails 3. Suffering 3 total damage. Now rolling for the Transcendent, it has 2 attacks at power 7, swinging into the Condemned with defense 7. It needs 4 up for the attack rolls to be successful, and only 1 is successful. The Condemned have a 4 up resist, but fail to save it. The Transcendent's attack does 3 damage, but the Condemned have the resilient 6 up ability. Rolling 3 dice, the Condemned ignore 1 damage and suffer 2 damage. These simultaneous battle activations result in the Transcendent dropping to 3 health remaining, while one of the Condemned has 1 health remaining. It is not looking good for the leader of the Prometheans. Moving over to resolve the PR1s versus the Daredevils and the Boomers. Rolling for the PR1s first, the 2 that are remaining have 2 attacks each, for 4 total attacks at power 5. Both PR1s choose to swing into the Daredevils. The Daredevils have a defense of 5, so they need 4 up for the attacks to be successful. 3 attacks are successful, and the Daredevils have a 5 up resist. They save 1, fail 2, and suffer 2 total damage. Of the 2 remaining Daredevils, only 1 is in range to participate in the battle. It has 3 attacks at power 6, and the PR1s have a defense of 6, so it needs 4 up for the attacks to be successful. Only 1 attack is successful, and the PR1s have a 5-up resist, but fail to save it, suffering 1 damage. All 5 boomers then also attack the PR1s with 2 attacks each, for 10 total attacks at power 5. The PR1s have a defense of 6, so they need 5 up for their attacks to be successful. 3 attacks are successful, and the PR1s have a 5-up resist, but fail all 3 resist rolls, suffering 3 more damage. These simultaneous battle activations result in the PR1s being fully destroyed, and 1 Daredevil being destroyed. This leaves 1 Daredevil and the full unit of 5 boomers left alive. This is not looking good for the Prometheans overall. These are all the battle activations for this round, so we now move into the control phase of round 3. The Transcendent once again uses its Regenerate ability and heals 1 health, bringing it up to 4 health remaining. The Exiles will score another 2 victory points this round as they remain on both archives, but the Prometheans will score only 1 victory point. With the PR1s being destroyed this round, they no longer have a presence on the top archive. This brings the total score to 5-4 in favor of the Exiles. Moving into round 4 here, both commanders will roll off for the 4th round activation order. The Exiles win and will be activating the first unit in the action phase. The Exiles activate the Lonely Daredevil to perform a move and charge action. It moves forward and declares the Transcendent as its primary charge target, who cannot react because it is still locked in battle with the Condemned. Rolling 2d6, the charge vigor is sufficient and the Daredevil charges into the Promethean leader. It then makes the successful charger rolls using a number of d6 equal to the power of its battle weapon, which is 6. Any results of 5 up are inflicting severe damage to the charge target to a maximum of 3. It rolls 1 5 up and inflicts 1 severe damage to the Transcendent. This brings the Transcendent down to 3 health remaining after the charge. The Prometheans now activate the Dreamers to perform a move and charge action. They move forward and declare the Kingpin as their primary charge target. The Kingpin does choose to perform a countercharge reaction here. The Kingpin rolls a 7 and the Dreamers roll 10, getting an additional +2 for the total of 12 with their momentum ability. The Dreamers win the charge and move their 12 inches towards the Kingpin, surrounding him on the archive. The Dreamers make their successful charger rolls using a number of d6 equal to the power of their battle weapons, which is 6. They roll 1 5 up and inflict 1 severe damage. However, the Kingpin has the resilient 5 up ability and can attempt to ignore the severe damage. The Kingpin fails the roll and drops down to just 1 health remaining. By performing a reaction here, the Kingpin is no longer eligible to perform an action in this round. The Exiles then activate the Boomers to perform a move and shoot action. They move to get a better line of sight and target the Transcendent, who cannot react because it is locked in battle. This means they're risking friendly fire once again. All 5 Boomers move into range and line of sight to shoot with 2 attacks each, which means 10 total attacks coming from the unit. Their attacks are power 6, and the Transcendent has a defense of 6, so they need 4 up for their attack rolls to be successful. Rolling the 10 attacks, 6 are successful and they avoid any friendly fire because no 1s were rolled. That is some accurate shooting. The Transcendent has a 3-up resist and fails only 1. The attack does 1 damage, which brings the Transcendent down to 2 health remaining. This robot just won't quit. Prometheans activate the Transcendent to perform a hold action and no reaction is triggered, and then the Exiles activate the Condemned to perform a hold action and no reaction is triggered. This brings us into the battle phase of round 4, and we'll resolve the Kingpin versus Dreamers battle activation first. Rolling for the Kingpin, he has 2 attacks at power 7, swinging into the Dreamers with defense 6. He needs 3 up for the attack rolls to be successful, and only 1 is successful. The Dreamers have a 4 up resist, and they save it. The 2 Dreamers now have 4 attacks each, for 8 total attacks at power 6. The Kingpin has defense 7, so they need 5 up for the attack rolls to be successful. 5 attacks are successful, and the Kingpin has a 3 up resist. He saves 2 but fails 3. Each attack does 2 damage for 6 total damage, but the Kingpin has the resilient 5 up ability. Rolling 6 dice, the Kingpin saves 4 but fails 2 and suffers 2 damage, just enough to finish him off. These simultaneous battle activations result in the Kingpin being destroyed, and the Dreamers shrugging off his attacks as he goes down. Killing the enemy leader scores the Prometheans 1 victory point, tying the score at 5-5. Moving over to resolve the final battle activation here between the Transcendent, the Condemned, and the Daredevil. Rolling for the Transcendent first, it has 2 attacks at power 7, and chooses to swing into the Condemned with the defensive 7. It needs 4 up for the attack rolls to be successful, and both are successful. The Condemned have a 4 up resist, they save 1 and fail 1. The Transcendent's attack does 3 damage, but the Condemned have the resilient 6 up ability. Rolling 3 dice, the Condemned ignore 1 damage and suffer 2. Now rolling for the Daredevil, who has 3 attacks at power 6. The Transcendent has a defensive 6, so it needs 4 up for the attacks to be successful. 2 attacks are successful, but the Transcendent has a 3 up resist and saves both. Now rolling for the 3 Condemned, who have 5 attacks each. The 15 total attacks at power 7. The Transcendent has a defensive 6, so the Condemned need 3 up for their attacks to be successful. And wow, 11 attacks are successful. The Transcendent has a 3 up resist, but it's not enough as it saves 4 and fails 7, suffering 7 total damage. These simultaneous battle activations result in the already wounded Condemned being destroyed. But despite the Transcendent inflicting 2 damage to the Condemned, it was with a single attack, so the extra point of damage does not overflow to damage another Condemned. The Transcendent is finally destroyed by the overwhelming onslaught of the Exiles. Killing the enemy leader scores the Exiles 1 victory point, making the score now 6-5 in favor of the Exiles. These are all the battle activations for this round, so we move into the control phase of round 4. The Exiles are going to score 1 victory point for being on the top archive, and the Prometheans are going to score 1 victory point for being on the bottom archive. This brings the final score to 7-6 for an Exiles victory. Wow, what a tense and exciting battle. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up to help others find it as well, and subscribe to the channel to see future lore videos, battle reports, and advanced tutorials. Archives of Tomorrow is a product of my passionate creativity, and I'm elated to share it with the wargaming community. If you'd like to be part of this game's development journey, then you can show your support by joining the AOT Patreon. On that note, a huge thank you to the Harbingers of AOT. Your continued support means the world to me. That's it for now. See you next time, Commander.